Good morning, Critical Thinking Classroom. How are you? We are skimping on our time a little bit in this classroom. It comes really fast behind the Bookless classroom, which takes a lot of work for me. It's not my thing. History is not my thing. Um, and then it's followed by, spiritual and philosophical, which are heavy duty classes as well. So we'll probably get out of here at about 11:30. Not exactly an hour for the critical thinking classroom. All right. But we're summarizing today. We're wrapping things up. So before I started wrapping things up, I went over there to go get some more information. So I found out some new information about a lot of things. I didn't find out a lot of information, but I did find out some new information about a lot of different things. So let me pull this up. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to take a look at. Yeah, there we go. There's another article there too. So a couple articles here that I looked up regarding some of the studies that I said that I was going to take a look at, right? And so here is, let's take a look at that. I want to see that. This looks to me like a picture of Tom Bouchard. I find it very interesting because I've got so much going on around me, right? And I'm recognizing a lot of faces. So there's not a lot. You go to his here. This is what is so GD suspicious about this stuff. Let's go to his university website, which happens to be at Elliott Hall, which we had at Wayne State, as well as Oakland University. So big halls. So he's at Elliott Hall. I find that a little interesting. He's the director of the Minnesota Center for Twin and Adoption Research. That seems like a conflict of interest to me. I'm not sure. He's at the University of Minnesota. He got his PhD from the University of Berkeley. I don't understand what this is here. I don't understand, although you can't see. I wish you could see my whatever cursor. It's not whatever. Let me see here if I can. No, I can't. I just thought I could mark on this page or something. So I also see I have highlighted here auspices. So I looked that up because it says, I find that language to be interesting. So what I'm saying here is no pic at his university website. Seems strange to me. Not many pictures that are much better than this picture here. Tom Bouchard. And also, can I just do one more thing? That I have had a lot of problems with. Michael Bouchard. And we know that this globalization has allowed us. So I have been very outspoken about Michael Bouchard. and about what the lack of response that I have been getting from the Oakland County Sheriff's Department, if for no other reason than the fact that I had inappropriate material sent to my house, and they described it and then dismissed it. That's a federal crime. It's a federal crime. So is sex trafficking, which I've mentioned. So is basically infiltrating or confiscating or compromising all of my personal information, including four of my hard drives, right? But Michael Bouchard, don't tell me he doesn't know what's going on. He absolutely knows what's going on. He's hiding. I don't even know if that's his picture. I remember meeting him. He didn't look anything like that Gomer Pyle, that's for sure. But the language here is interesting to me. So research, the primary research project being carried out under the auspices of the center was the Minnesota study of twins reared apart. Director of the Minnesota Center for Twin and Adoption Research. The primary research project is being carried out under the auspices of the center. Was the Minnesota study of twins reared apart. Auspices is an interesting word because I looked it up. So it's under the protection of. So that makes sense. But there is this idea here in my head as I was doing all this research on this for our class today, that again, I've said before, they're changing our language, right? So they're changing our language, and auspices always gave me a feeling of doom and gloom. Under the auspices, under the guise of, under the protection of. So the common definition of auspices, if I look it up online, I didn't go to my unabridged dictionary. I didn't feel like it because I found what I needed. And that was this connection. So protection, most of the time it's talking about under the auspices is under the protection of, in a good way, like I'm your, like a paternal kind of protection. I am your protector, right? But when you use auspices here on a website like this without your picture, it suggests to me that, well, you're hiding something. First of all, where's your GD picture? No excuses. Zero. None. This is the whole identity crisis that everybody's having. They don't want to own up to their own identity. That's the identity crisis that everybody's having. Masks covering faces, business cards without last names, websites without any names at all, without any pertinent information, online news stories without any personalized information about it. You don't know who that story was about, who wrote that story, or when that story occurred. Anyone could pluck that story up, pop in a bunch of dates, and have an article of their choosing that could frame somebody else under the auspices of the protection of the First Amendment. Under the auspice, yeah, it's an auspice. So what does that word really mean? Well, it was associated with omen, and that's what I said. I found what I needed. I wanted to then do a little bit more of a little bit of a deeper dive on why auspice, which is protection, is associated with the word omen. And the actual auspice is basically watching birds for omens. It is a kind of a, all I can think of is a mediation, but that's not quite the word that I'm looking for. But it is. It's to look to the birds, which are wild creatures. I mean, birds they will poke your eyes out without even a tear in their eye, without even any introspection whatsoever. And that sounds silly, but of course, I mean, and it's not silly. With that, they will poke your eyes out, and so to me, auspices, the word auspices has this dark side to it. I need to say it's under protection because I need protection. And why do you need protection, Thomas Brouchard? Why do you need protection? Do you need protection from the aggressive teacher at Oakland University who's just digging up all these connections? Is that who you need protection from? Is that what it is? Thomas Brouchard? Or Michael Brouchard? Or whatever your relationships are? Why isn't it clear about your educational background, right? That's not much of a background. PhD at the University of California, Berkeley, 1966 to what? What does that mean? Does that mean you earned it? Thomas Brouchard, does that mean that you earned it? You earned a PhD? Or does that mean that you're still working on it, 1966 through what? What does that mean? Why isn't your picture there? You're a university. You've been doing research on twin studies that are just astronomically important to the psychological world. Why isn't your picture there? Are you afraid of me? Is that why? You're making up some, oh my gosh, anything associated with our nefarious business better be squashed. That's what I get from this Thomas Brouchard. No picture over here. Big effing mystery after you've had an entire career in this field. You're a big effing mystery. You sure the hell are, aren't you, Brouchard? Since that's your sketchy picture, you sure as hell are a mystery, aren't you? Twin studies go back to the womb. Do you, Thomas Brouchard? Is that what you do? Tell me. The really interesting thing is going to be looking at the effect of a single gene against the background. No, it's not. No, it's not interesting at all. Not interesting at all. Nick Martin, whoever the hell you are, dingbat, that's not interesting at all. See, I hope you stick around for all my summaries and conclusions because these are interesting. This is interesting. No, Nick, you're kind of a dingbat is what you are. I'm just saying, you're a dingbat, all right? Because it sure as hell is not interesting, one gene, and you know it. And you know it. And that kind of makes you an ass, Nick. It kind of makes you an ass. Because you know that is not what is important. Now, you knew that we were going to come to some kind of a real emotional or whatever you want to call this, passionate, there we go, summary as we do in the courtroom, right? For our cases. What do you call that? Their ending argument. This is what I'm doing. This is my ending argument on this, and maybe it'll go till Tuesday. I don't know how long my ending argument is going to go. You know how long those lawyers could go. I'm a teacher and a psychologist and a woman, and I'm religious, and I'm a mother. I could go on forever, right? Okay, Nick, what's the matter with you? It's like, are you a wannabe? Is it that, I don't know. What is the matter with you, Nick? That's what I want to know. I want to know what is the matter? What is the matter with you? There's a matter. What is it? What's the matter? I don't know. I'm going to go get my coffee. So it's not interesting to look at the effect of a single gene against the background. What the hell does that even mean? What the hell does that even mean? You know what it means? It means the environment is so much more interesting than your stupid one single gene. Nobody at all is interested in a single gene. Brown eyes, single gene. Nobody's interested in a single gene, Nick. Go back to your lab. So what are they saying? We're still not sure what happened. It seems that there's good reason for twin researchers to heed back to the womb. And this was I'm reading, so you can read along with me if you want to. They don't even know. I mean, just listen to their language. They don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Look at the first. And the linkage has appeared. We're still not quite sure what happened, says Paul. All he can surmise is that the positive finding was one of the occasional chance significant results that affect all research relying on statistical probability testing. Larger scale attempts to trace loci involved in psychiatric diseases using linkage are also experiencing tough going. 18 centers in Europe are now almost 2 years into European Science Foundation project to look for loci associated with schizophrenia and manic depression using some 150 genetic markers spread throughout the human genome. Although it's still in its early days, the project is expected to continue beyond 1995. The researchers have so far failed to discover any convincing linkages. All these guys are starting to get depressed themselves, said Queenlands Martin. Maybe there aren't any genes of real major effect. And now what are they saying? What are they saying? That they can't find these genetic linkages, but their conclusion is that we're going to raise the estimate of the inherited intelligence from what we thought used to be. I'll put my what used to be thought of as approximately 50% heritable. IQ is 50% heritable. What they're suggesting now is it's 70% heritable. IQ. No. I can show you report after report after report that demonstrates we can drop IQ. We see IQ drop based on risk factors. 5 points basically for, about 5 points basically for every, about 5 points basically for every risk factor. I got to plug in. I forgot. I've got the background noise, that humming noise from my dehumidifier. I emptied all the water out, so I needed to get my dehumidifier going. Take a look at that article. I'm going to go get my coffee. I guess you don't need to see me here, so you can look at the article. I'll be right back. Okay, without actually meaning to, of course, I am washing my floor right now. And the water running in the sink. And then I got online. I know! Don't even. Think I don't feel dumb enough already? I have 4 giant, thick, thirsty towels on the floor and not even close. I gotta go get just a couple more towels there, that's all. And then I'll be right back. I'll get you a blankie out there. You're gonna like this, Lucy. It is hot. Look at that. That is like toast. Well, nothing like a crisis to get your mind off of what's aggravating you here. And that, my friends, was a small crisis averted. I literally had, I don't even know how much water I had all over that floor. Yikes. But it was a lot. But I like to show you things, and in particular, how you would handle a stress. I like to show you that like in real time. because that was a big deal. I had water poured all over that floor. I still have to get underneath that sink so that that water doesn't get too soaked in there, right? Underneath that sink, and then ruin all of my wood floor. And it was all over the floor, so it had dripped all the way down. And that was another thing I just realized, that I didn't even wipe down the cabinets yet. And I need to go quick do that. But the point here is to not let it go. And it didn't come from down underneath the cabinet. I'm sorry, it didn't go down the cabinet. Ouch. Ouch. That could have broke my arm. It was pouring down down the cabinet and out the bottom, so it only got on the floor and the bottom of the cabinet, not down the cabinet. So I'm glad about that. But I wanted to say that it is important that you, like, there was one thing that overwhelmed me. I've told you this before, but it bears repeating because you wouldn't be able to find it. One thing in my life that overwhelmed me, that I remember, like, really truly overwhelming me. Like, if I let it go, it could have been a panic attack. It was an overwhelming, I just couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with it. And my sister swooped in and she helped me. And that was after a party. Usually my sisters and my cousins help clean up. And then it makes it not so overwhelming. Well, this was a party where there was nobody to help me really clean up. And my other sister, everyone was starting to leave, and there was just a giant mess there. And I kept walking in the kitchen and leaving, and I had no idea. And I was starting to get tears in my eyes because it was so overwhelming. So I get the overwhelming aspect of something. And she started tackling it, just one small group thing at a time. She started tackling it. I had to put things away and had no room in the refrigerator. It was horrible because of the party, right? So I would normally start by putting things away, and I had nowhere to put them. And my refrigerator went on the blink. My second refrigerator went on the blink. So I didn't have that backup fridge. I'm watching this guy. Nice boat over here. Nice fishing boat. It really is. It's kind of funny to say that, nice fishing boat, when all it is a metal boat. But it's pretty deep, which I like. And it's in nice shape. It's not like some ugly tin thing. It'll be coming in your background in just a minute. He's going to be coming right in the background in just a minute. Oh, he's got fish on the back of it too. Watch, here he comes. I'm almost sure. See in the water there? Watch. Here in the water there, right here, I'll show you a finger. I'll show you a finger. Right there. Right there. I think he is, other way. I think he is, I can't see him now. Oh, but nice boat. I like that boat. There he is. So we have some people on the lake. I don't know where he came from, though. Never seen that guy before. As far as I know. Could be in disguise. So that was a pretty big deal, actually, what just happened there. But, I've never had that. I've never dumped that much water on my floor. That was a lot of water. I have 4 thirsty towels, and it might be enough. I'll probably get one more underneath the cabinet. But I could have left it there, but I don't know the damage if it would have gone through the floorboards into something else. No thank you. And then musty and moldy. You got to take care of the problem right away. Sometimes you need help. I needed help with overwhelming dishes. I just did. And it seems like an easy task, right? I didn't have a place to put the food. My sister just started throwing it all out, which was really unfortunate. Now I use a compost, whatever. But it did help rid me of the overwhelming whatever. 0 dropped frames? Xfinity. Is that what that white flag was about? Oh my gosh, this little pepper is like, it's this tiny. It's that tiny. And you could begin to see the shape of the pepper. It's getting the lines, like the grooves in the pepper, in the green pepper. I'm starting to see that. What was that? Okay, so the investigators report that fully. All right. That's right here. I cannot even believe that sound is coming from here, and there's Lucy, and she's not saying anything about it. How close is that? I don't know. Did you hear that? Look at now. Lucy's like, her ears are perked up because I'm whispering. She thinks I'm talking to her. How cute is that? The investigators report that fully 70% of the differences in the twins' IQ were attributed to inherited traits. Previous studies, couldn't see very well. I'm going to put it down so I can see it down here. Where am I? Previous studies had suggested that about 50% of the differences in scores were inherited. The new findings, which were immediately questioned by other experts, could mean that this inheritance is the overwhelming contributor to intelligence test scores. The finding could become part of the never-ending debate over the role that schools and environments can play in determining test scores. What you're saying is not even close to what schools and environment can do for test scores. It's saying you can't do anything 70% of the time. And by the way, that kind of thinking, to let you know, is simply true. It is founded in racist research and racist theory. This is the same thing that begins with an A. His first name begins with an A. And he talked about the compensatory damage that there was no compensatory damage to these unequal schools, is basically what it amounted to. And that we needed the unequal schooling because whites would always have DNA that is better or smarter or more intellectually savvy than blacks. That is what this twin research has always, since the beginning, trying to progress. This idea that there really is a hierarchy. And you can believe that only if you are willing to not be a believer in a higher power. Then you believe that this hierarchy has been established for the betterment of society. As we were talking in the Bookless classroom, get this to a reasonable size. It's not here. Yeah, it is. Maybe it's not there. There we go. There we go. There are reasons that this kind of thinking benefits people, and this kind of thinking keeps the status quo. So if I think that there is a difference in DNA, the next thing that we go to is differences in DNA that are there to serve a purpose. That is what evolution says. We have evolved to have these kind of, for example, inequalities because let me get this a little bit nicer. They are necessary for the function of society, according to this kind of thinking, that these inequalities are innate. These inequalities are part of our DNA. So when we suggest things like we need to build better programs for individuals to learn in our schools, somebody can now say our schooling makes no difference in intellect. That person will either be smart or won't be smart in at least 70% of the cases. 70% of who we are is dictated by DNA. And don't forget what they said there, right? Don't forget what they said there. That the new findings were immediately questioned by other experts. How has he been allowed? How has this Bouchard been allowed to continue to report and purport this kind of information? I didn't show you, although I had showed you in the past, a little bit of differences, some of the differences that are made with depression, for example, right? So now we're saying that it's IQ that is solidly 70%, and characteristics such as depression have now moved up to something like 60% dependent on genes. So in his twin studies, that by the way, he is very, very vague in his explanations for how do you get twins? And Guinness Book of World Record for the twins who never knew they were twins, 73 or 78 years. It's just inexcusable. It makes me want to cry. It makes me want to cry. And the spin on it is Guinness Book of World Records. How cool is this? Twins found each other. His studies are in twins reared apart. The studies are in twins reared apart. I don't think I can. It's too bad I can't highlight right on this. That's what the studies are in. Oh, imagine that. After 78 years, twins found one another. So what we know about twin studies is that the research was collected unethically. What we know about them is it's been collected by scientists who really have almost no value in human equality or human integrity. They cannot possibly perform these kinds of studies for the sake of knowledge and forego the sake of people. Right? Forsake humanity. Forego the sake of people. They forsake humanity is what they are doing. Human beings. And who knows, right? Now they're dumb and smart. That now they are prejudicing people and discriminating based on dumb and smart. That could be any color. That could be you. I mean, at least I know I don't have to suffer the trials and tribulations of a black person as long as I'm not black. But you could call me dumb. I might not even be dumb, and you could call me dumb. You called me crazy. You called me imbalanced, Oakland University, when I'm not. I'm clearly not. Clearly not. Evidence mounting. So people could say you're dumb, and then what happens? Now we're discriminating because you're dumb. And when I use that word, I'm not using it because you're dumb. I mean, clearly, who even knows? Who would even know when the smarty pants over here are misreporting data all over the place, misrepresenting data all over the place? Let's get that name right in Minnesota. And don't think I don't know Minnesota. You've been doing a whole hell of a lot more than that. We can go back to Dred Scott, can't we, Minnesota? What else do you have going on there with Wisconsin? And what else do you have going on there with food? And what else do you have going on there with my family? What's going on with my family there, Minnesota? You know. Grandparents from Minnesota, grandparents moved to Wisconsin. Agriculture issues with Vogels in Wisconsin, and I believe Minnesota, and now we've got Bouchard and the Sheriff's Department all tied up in this as well. Present day, SHIT. So I'm all set with this. I'm not all set with, I probably will bring it back. I think I'm going to bring back the article again on Tuesday, and we will finish our closing arguments on this. Because I want to show you a few more of the reports that we have. On our gene studies. So here we've got shared, non-shared environments and DNA, and how much of our environment actually is contributing. So we'll talk, that really does get to be complicated, but if you're interested in how much DNA and the factors that we look at are, the three factors are shared environments, non-shared environments, and DNA. How much do they contribute? How much does it contribute your environment with your family, right? Because we say parents and brothers and sisters do a lot in our early formative years. So how much does the family actually contribute? That would be considered oh, you know what? I couldn't write on this. Darn it. You don't get the markup in this. You get the markup when you blow it all up into the big thing. I am able to mark up, but I can't mark up from this view, and that's disappointing. And our time is up anyway. So if you look there, though, you can see in italics there. So there are genes, it says, shared environments. Are twins who grow up together more similar than twins raised apart? That's our shared environment. Doesn't matter if they're identical or fraternal. Are the twins who grow up together more similar than those who are raised apart? We can see that that's true for identical twins raised together. They're slightly more alike than identical twins raised apart. Fraternal twins, more so, right? So that's shared environment, but not a lot different between identical twins raised together and raised apart in those correlations. These correlations are for, right here, are for percentages for, what was it? Angry emotionality. That's what it is right here. Oh. Oops. Oops, oops, oops. Here we got data on the relationship with IQ. Nature's influence, nurture's influence looks about the same. Fraternal twins raised together, identical twins raised apart, biological siblings together, biological siblings together, biological siblings apart. Identical twins together, identical twins apart, right? We're comparing. So there are all our comparisons for relationships for IQ. And identical twins that are raised together have much higher correlations, but there are other factors that come into play there, right? It's not simply DNA, obviously. Identical twins raised apart, what you're talking there is about 0.7, which is, that is about what they've been saying since I've been going to school. Oh, you can't see it. So take a look at those stats there and see what you think of them. Let me just reduce them just a little bit. And tell me what you think of them, right? And these are stats for IQs. And see if you can't understand them. So the difference between identical twins raised together and identical twins raised apart, that difference there is environmental. The difference between identical twins raised together and fraternal twins raised together, that difference there is DNA, I would have to say. Identical twins are more similar than fraternal twins. Exactly. So that is DNA. So in the first column there, it says identical twins raised together compared to fraternal twins raised together. You're talking about the difference in DNA. Identical twins share 100% of their genes. So anything different from fraternal twins would have to be due to genetic differences in those comparisons. So you can see here the types of comparisons that we're doing in order to see the influence of genes, shared environment, and non-shared environment. I'm going to escape this and see if I am not able to get just one more thing for you. Okay, there we go. All right, so this is what I wanted to do for you. I wanted to make sure that you saw this here. So here we are looking at correlations from a twin study of heritability of angry emotionality. We are using the information here that tells us how we are calculating genes. Are identical twins more similar than fraternal twins? And so here, oh shoot, that's not what I wanted to do. Are identical twins different from fraternal twins? And we can see here they are. So here is the difference that genes are making according to this chart. Okay? So when we look here, there we're paying attention to genes. Are identical twins more similar than fraternal twins? Shared environment. Are twins who grow up together more similar than twins raised apart? So here we have raised together compared to raised apart. Are they different? And then that tells us shared environment. And then the last one here, we have non-shared environment. Are identical twins raised in the same home dissimilar? So identical twins raised together, are they dissimilar? Despite sharing 100% of their genes. So, a correlation of 0.37 is far less than a perfect correlation of 0.1. So what we're looking at here are identical twins raised together. Their correlation, if they were exactly the same because of their DNA on angry emotionality, their correlation should be, because of their DNA, 1.00. That is considerably less. That's considerably less than a perfect correlation. So there's a good deal of non-shared environmental influence. And this is why we see such a great disparity, but not just a disparity, such a uprising in the community here. The new findings were immediately questioned by other experts, and that's the reason why. We can see just considerable difference here, and we can see the considerable contribution in angry emotionality, which should be a personality trait. We can see environment has a considerable contribution. I'm going to show you, when we come back, I'll show you some other stats that we have on differences in IQ due to the environment. And they're remarkable. We showed you the Harry Harlow studies, right? That if you're raised without any kind of love or attachment, we see severe consequences, but we also see those consequences in intellectual development. So that's all I have. I need to take a break. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. Thank you so much for joining me in the classroom with the teacher. I hope I also showed you how to not worry about something that could have been, actually, in my point of view, it really was kind of a catastrophe, having all that water all over the floor. It doesn't have to actually take you out, doesn't have to leave you like, I got to get out of here, right? So thanks again for joining me.